Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Maria Kliavkoff from MK Facilitations, and I wanted to hop on today to actually continue the conversation that we started yesterday. So yesterday we were talking about this notion of I'll get to my grief when everything is done. We were talking about how we sometimes don't make room or time for ourselves when we're grieving. And here's the real problem with that. If you find yourself thinking, I'll get to my grief, or I can't take care of myself right now because I need to take care of others, postponing your working with your grief does a number of things. First of all, it's a recipe for bearing and carrying your grief, which is far more painful. And you're teaching the other family members that, that they don't need to deal with their own grief. You know, I remember my mother, her younger brother in his early 40s died very unexpectedly from a heart attack. And my mother never gave herself the time or the space to grieve it. She was there to help every other family member. She wanted to support them in any way that she could, and she was remarkable at it. But she never gave herself the time or the space to grieve her beloved brother. And so what ended up happening is the symptoms of grief that she was experiencing, the sadness, the loss, the devastation of it all really got buried and carried inside of her. And every time she thought about her brother to her dying day, she couldn't say his name without completely choking up. And we, the family members, were hesitant to mention him around her because she would get so upset with it. And it's because she never actually gave herself that space to reclaim the happy memories, to reclaim who he was in her life. She just relegated it to a place where she didn't want to think about it because it just hurt too much. So if you find yourself in that experience of it's just hurting too much, so I'm going to forge through and I'm not going to give myself the time I need to grieve. Instead, I'm going to focus on other family members. I'm going to be there to support them. Or if you're carrying with you the thought of they wouldn't want me to be sad, or if somebody's telling you, you know, he or she wouldn't want you to be sad with this and is putting that weight on you, I beg you to please take a second think on that one. Because as Dr. Wolfelt says, and I posted a meme on this earlier in the group, my favorite quote, death ends a life, not a relationship. But what Dr. Wolfelt says is grief awaits welcome. It doesn't await time. And some of us, you know, when we put off our grief and we're thinking, well, we'll deal with it later, we secretly hope that later on it'll be softer. Later on, it won't hurt as much. But here's the secret to that. It actually hurts more if you wait, because now you're adding suffering to it, and now it's really buried and carried. And the symptoms of grief, like the symptoms my mother had, harden over time instead of soften over time. Because when we deal with grief in real time, when we know how to convert our grief to mourning, those grief symptoms soften over time. And that's how we know that we're moving through it. And we can do that with ease and grace. And we can do that without putting ourselves through all of these hoops of pain and distancing ourselves from the very thing that we want to be coming close to. If you find yourself struggling with this in any way, please, I encourage you, private message me or put a note in the comments section of the video. Let's connect and let's talk. I look forward to connecting with you, and if not via private messaging, then certainly on the next Facebook Live. I'm going to be out of town tomorrow, so I won't be doing a Facebook Live until Friday. But as always, if you have some questions or some concerns or some symptoms you're experiencing and you're not sure that it's a grief symptom, just shoot me a note in the comments section here, and I'm so happy to talk about that and make that a focal point for Facebook Live. Much love to you all. Namaste.